Hi there again, we're going to be having a look at the All Island Strategic Rail Review once again. And this time we're going to be going back into Chapter 4 to look at the Intercity Spine recommendations. So the island of Ireland's current intercity passenger rail service falls significantly short of the level of service widely available in Western Europe. Journey times are often uncompetitive with car journeys on most intercity routes. Well, yeah, that's abundantly clear with as we mentioned before, the Dublin to Belfast route. Um, I mean, pretty much any route really, especially if it's a longer distance one. There's or to like well, I know this isn't intercity per se, but if you're going to a smaller town, then often you have to change mode at least once. Like if you want to go down to Dingle, you can take the train down as far as Killarney. You'll probably have to change at least once, and then you have to take another bus from Killarney out to Dingle. Service frequencies are less than one train per hour between all 7 key cities except from Dublin to Cork. Less than one train per hour. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for intercity routes, it's a bit per. You want to have at least one train every hour. Just because with the sheer volume of people that tend to travel between population centers, cities, you want to, you can justify having more frequent trains that suit their schedules better. You don't need to bunch them all up into a smaller timetable to fill up the train, because the train's going to be full most of the time on intercity routes. If it's a good route and it's an attractive route. Connectivity limitations between the southwest and northeast sections of the rail network, focused on Houston and Connolly Station, means it can be difficult to travel directly between Belfast and Derry on one side and Cork, Galway, Waterford and Limerick on the other by rail. Yeah, because there's not really much of a connection between those two stations, Houston and Connolly. And like, there's a Lewis obviously, but you have to leave the station, hop on the Lewis, go back in. It's a bit inconvenient. It is clear from the public consultation that there is an aspiration from the public to improve the quality of service provided by intercity services, your current ones. Some aspects of the railway that drive service quality are addressed in this section, such as speed and service frequency. Those are definitely key components. While others are considered in the customer experience section below, such as onboard experience. I mean, that is important too, but obviously, if you're looking at intercity routes, the main concern most people would have would be speed and frequency. They kind of go hand in hand. And then also just reliability. You want to know that it's going to be on time, that it's going to leave at the right time and it's going to arrive at the right time. Both Iarnród Éireann and TransLink are investing in improving the line speeds and increasing service frequencies. For example, in the relatively near future, it is envisaged that the Dublin-Belfast Enterprise service will operate hourly. That's good. Although, envisaged, I don't know, that doesn't sound like much of a commitment, more like an assumption, but I can see it happening, because it's a fairly popular route. However, if both jurisdictions wish to deliver a world-class passenger rail service between the largest cities on the island of Ireland, then significant interventions will be needed to improve journey times, service frequencies, and cross-island connectivity. Yes, part of that then would be to standardize the signaling, right? Because at the moment, actually, hold on a sec, I can check what they actually use in terms of signaling. Alright, so what I could find, which was not a huge amount, but seems like in the Republic of Ireland we use the Continuous Automatic Warning System, CAWS. Northern Ireland Railways, it's kind of hard to find it, but I found this thread on a Rail UK forums AWS and TPWS, and I found that Northern Ireland Railways was mentioned in this AWS automatic warning system page in Wikipedia, but they weren't mentioned anywhere in this TPWS one. Also, this person mentioned that the Republic of Ireland uses the ATP system. I couldn't find anything about Ireland on this Wikipedia page for the automatic train protection. It says it's a UK thing. I'm not super informed on train signaling systems, but it seems like they use slightly different systems at the very least. Continuous automatic warning system versus automatic warning system. I'll link these two wiki articles if anyone wants to have a look into it. But I'll link that Rail UK forum thread as well. Anyway, journey times. An attractive all-island intercity passenger rail service should deliver journey times between Ireland's major cities that are materially faster than car journeys. Yeah, that for sure is important. You want to make it an attractive alternative. I keep saying it. I'll keep saying it. If you want people to use trains, make it attractive to them. This suggests passenger rail intercity journeys should aim to achieve an average speed higher than average speeds achieved on the island's motorways, which have maximum speed limits between 100 and 120 kilometers an hour. Evidence from Great Britain and Europe suggests that to achieve an average speed of 120 kilometers an hour, intercity rail services need to operate at speeds of up to 200 kilometers an hour. Well, yeah, of course, you have to take into account that you'll be stopping at stations along the way, and the train doesn't just stop instantly. You have to allow room for acceleration and deceleration. This ensures that when allowing for stops, waiting times, and interchange times, the railway delivers a faster journey than the private car. 200 kilometers an hour is generally considered to be the highest speed a conventional train can reach before requiring in-cab signaling, and has therefore been used as a target speed for the intercity services in this review. Also, if you're going to go up to like 300 kilometers an hour, you need different rail infrastructure as well to that can handle those speeds. Significant upgrades to signaling, track condition, level crossings, and rolling stock will be needed across the island's rail network to achieve a 200 kilometers an hour railway. It may be possible to deliver some of these enhancements through Iarnród Éireann and Translink's existing asset renewals programs. Yeah, well, because the current rolling stock, I don't know about in the north, but in the Republic it's all in its twilight years, you could say. It'll all need to be replaced in the next 5 or 10 years, so why not get some nice new hybrid trains or full electric, which would be ideal. High-speed rail. The review has considered whether developing a new, fully segregated 300 kilometers an hour high-speed rail network could be a viable proposition for the island of Ireland. While this scenario could deliver transformational improvements in journey times between the island's largest population centres, analysis undertaken for this review suggests the benefits of delivering this network will be significantly outweighed by the costs. Yeah. Because it's a small country, or not country, island. There's only so far you can go in any direction. 200 kilometers an hour would probably be plenty, because, what's the furthest you're ever going to go? Cork to Belfast, Cork to Derry. I don't think there's enough demand there for to ever be a direct route, so you're going to have to change at some point. And going Cork to Dublin, Dublin to Belfast, Belfast to Derry, those routes are not particularly long. 200 kilometers an hour would be plenty, really. Given the distance between key population centres, there are diminishing economic returns in targeting speeds above 200 kilometers an hour. Furthermore, developing a large new rail network would likely have a significant adverse impact on the natural environment and would risk generating more carbon through construction, down at offset by attracting more demand to the railways. It's not to say new intercity railways should be ruled out. Indeed, the evidence suggests a mix of online and offline improvements will be needed to deliver the goals and objectives of this review. Online and offline improvements, I would assume, refers to the infrastructure, so like the rail lines themselves, upgrading from single track to dual track, and then also installing the overhead line electrification. And I would guess it also refers to upgrading the signaling systems and maybe using a common signaling system across both jurisdictions. And then also just improving or upgrading the rolling stock to something a bit more modern. Service frequencies. In the short term, some frequency enhancements can be delivered with existing infrastructure thanks to the planned procurement of additional rolling stock. However, to achieve a step change in frequencies and operating performance, it will be necessary to add capacity on sections of the rail network where there is a high level of conflict between intercity freight and local commuter rail services. This is particularly relevant on busy sections of the railway on the approaches to Dublin and Belfast, and on single-track sections of the railway such as Portarlington to Athlone. Yeah, that should really be dual. At the very least, put in some leap upgrades. Most capacity can be delivered by building additional track, upgrading junctions, and adding platform capacity in some places. These improvements can be delivered in parallel with line speed improvements. In some cases, it may be easier to develop new lines rather than deliver dual or four tracking upgrades in existing corridors, such as Drogheda and Clongriffin. Cross-island connectivity. In the longer term, and in line with the review's goals of improving all-island connectivity between the major cities, consideration will be required as to the optimal solution for cross-Dublin services. To better connect northern and eastern parts of the island to the south and west, the rail considers a long-term intervention that transforms east-west connectivity between Euston and the Dublin-Belfast corridor, with interchange stations in Dublin city centre, should also be considered. The concept for an east-west tunnel in Dublin has been studied extensively in the past, largely in the context of expanding Dart or Dublin mass transit system. I think I mean, obviously it never happened. There was like this program or plan called Dart Underground, which would have built an underground tunnel between Conley and Houston and kind of turned the Dart into like an underground metro system or expand it underground. There's some videos on YouTube from Irish Rail showing like this is what Dart Underground could look like, and they're from like what 2007, 2008. They haven't aged well. I'll be honest, because it's like, oh, this is the future. This is coming in 5 years' time, and then here we are, 15 years later, and none of it ever happened. It has been cited in several strategic documents in the past by both the National Transport Authority and Éireann Éireann. Oh, just the concept for an east-west tunnel. The development of such a solution will obviously need to be aligned with the development of the rail network within the Greater Dublin Area generally. The Transport Strategy for the Greater Dublin Area 2022 to 2042 proposes to protect and preserve an alignment for a cross-Dublin tunnel for delivery post-2042, subject to periodic review, and is recommended that any such proposal considers fully the implications of this review for the tunnel's alignment, functionality, and delivery. I wonder what they mean by propose to protect and preserve in alignment. Is that just like designate a part of the city that the tunnel is going to exist within and just like not use that for anything else? I don't know. Considering this context, this review encourages policymakers to consider whether this intervention could support longer distance services, such as direct services between the island's larger cities, such as Belfast to Cork, and Dublin Airport, such as Cork Dublin Airport. Yeah, those would both be cute. Belfast to Cork. Yeah. I don't live in either Belfast or Cork, but if I ever did, I would like the option to be able to travel to the other seamlessly. And then Cork to Dublin Airport, well, yeah. Having any connection to the airport, not just alone, would be good. Because Dublin Airport is the largest airport in the island and it sees a significant amount of international travel. So anyone living in Cork that's going on their holidays, chances are they're going to be going to Dublin Airport to fly there. As well as longer distance commuter services serving stations as far as Athlone, Portlaoise, Kilkenny and Drogheda. A future east-west tunnel would almost certainly include interchange stations with the planned Metrolink underground line and the DART network. Yeah, so the Metrolink I think would go from the south side. It's what's it like Charlemont through the city centre and then up through like Finglas towards the airport and then Swords. So it would, if yeah, it would be kind of stupid if they didn't have it connect to some of the stations or at least one of the main stations like Connolly or Houston. And then the DART network, well, that's going to be expanding anyway, so there's going to be DART Plus. I think part of the DART Plus West or Southwest is connecting Connolly to Houston via what's it, the Phoenix Park Tunnel? Or was it maybe a different tunnel? Can't remember off the top of my head. I think in another video, maybe in the future, I'll have a look at the DART Plus plans. In addition to boosting connectivity across Dublin, this intervention would help relieve pressure at terminus stations at Connolly and Houston and stimulate development and regeneration in the areas served by new underground stations. So, what is this the photo of? That's the Enterprise. I'm not sure what town that is. It's nice scenery. A rare sunny day. The Enterprise jogging along. Alright, so the recommendations. The reviews consider the costs and benefits of potential solutions to the alignment to capacity constraints outlined above, as well as their potential impact on the environment. This work has informed the recommendations set out below. A map illustrating the interventions that are likely needed to deliver a fast, frequent, and high-quality all-island intercity rail service is shown in Figure 11. Alright, so we will have a look at that in a minute. We'll go through these first. In summary, to deliver a world-class all-island intercity railway that meets the goals and objectives of this review, governments in both jurisdictions should develop plans to. I think this starts counting after the previous section on decarbonisation, so I'll just follow the number that's listed. 4. Upgrade the cross-country rail network to a dual-track railway and 4-track in places and increase intercity service frequencies. Well, yeah, dual track. I keep saying it, dual track. Everything. There's very little reason to not. Well, the only reason that you wouldn't dual track it is because it isn't currently dual tracked, and it's gonna cost money to do it. But like, justification for building it aside, there's no justification for it to be single track, or very little. Like there's not many sections of the line that where single track is best suited. Dual track should be everywhere, really. 4-track, I mean that depends on where it is, you know. Some areas will have a lot of trains going through them, especially in Dublin. You will need 4-track in some places, but you just build that where you need it. This would involve dual tracking the railway between Portarlington to Athlone, Kildare to Kilkenny, and Maynooth to Mullingar, and 4-tracking Connolly to Spencer Dock to Clongriffin. In addition to enabling higher frequency intercity services on these corridors, these improvements would allow more commuter services to serve intermediate stations and thus enable intercity services to deliver fast city-to-city journey times. Number 5 then, upgrade the core intercity railway network to 200 kilometers an hour by upgrading the condition and strength of straight sections of track. Straighter there it is, and if it's in good condition, then you can accelerate up to, maybe not to the max speed, but pretty close. Relining some sections of the railway where steep curves and level crossings currently force trains to reduce speeds. Yeah, I mean, steep curves aside, level crossings are certainly cause issues and slowdowns both for cars and for trains and anything in between, And they're just dangerous as well. There's a lot. There's much more potential for accidents to happen when there's a train crossing a road, and at level with pedestrian traffic too. Providing capacity to segregate intercity and regional services from other services on busier sections of the railway, which could include loops on busy sections to accommodate growth while longer-term upgrades are developed. Longer-term solutions are developed. Upgrading signaling and rolling stock, which could be delivered incrementally as part of a wider renewals program. Yeah, I mean, I talked about it earlier already. Those loops, I believe that refers to sections of track along single track lines where there's a short section of the track will be made dual track, so that trains going in either direction are able to pass by each other, which is like a strange kind of workaround for ensuring that trains can run in both directions. Because, by building that, you're admitting that it needs to be dual track, but you're just not committing to fully dual tracking the whole line. You're just like, oh, well, I can just put a little bit here and a little bit there. And I would guess that it's maybe more efficient in terms of finances. It would cost less. But if you ever want to increase frequencies on that line in the future, you're going to run into the main problem of it being primarily single track. It's not a long-term solution, really. Develop short sections of new railways on congested corridors. There are 3 sections of the network that are likely to require a forward tracking or new rail alignment solution to accommodate conflicting demands for capacity and deliver a 200 kilometers an hour railway. Yeah, I think so. I think that refers to that little kind of bypass for. Well, there was a few of them. One was a little bypass for Limerick Junction. One was from was it Maynooth to Port Arlington here, and Kildare. Just like another route option, and that one from Clontarf to Drogheda. I don't think there was any others. Oh, sorry, yeah, from Newry to Belfast via Banbridge and Hillsborough. Yeah. These 3 sections are, here they are: Belfast, Lisburn, Newry. The existing railway between Newry and Belfast has significant constraints due to its alignment, level crossings, and limited space to add capacity between Lisburn and Belfast. A new railway could deliver significant journey time and capacity benefits for this corridor. Dublin to Drogheda. This railway is expected to become busier when the DART network is extended to Drogheda McBride. While it is probably technically feasible to four-track this railway, doing so may have significant adverse on the integrity of several special protection areas, potentially the waterfronts in Malahide and Balbriggan. So I would assume that those protection areas refers mostly to the Swords Estuary, which obviously you don't want to be disrupting the wildlife there. If you're building railways to help the environment, you don't want to be fucking it up in the process. Waterfronts, Malahide and Balbriggan, that's somewhat vague, but I would assume, I could be wrong, I would assume that refers to the property on the waterfronts, as in their waterfront views, which I kind of don't care about. An alternative approach could be to build a new railway from Drogheda to Clongriffin following the M1 corridor. This railway would be shorter than a four-track solution, deliver faster journey times, require fewer significant crossings, require less land and property acquisition, generate less disruption to existing services during construction, and would have a more limited impact on the environment. Yeah, I think it's a good option. Port Arlington / Kildare to Hazelhatch. This railway is also expected to become busy as the commuter market to the southwest of Dublin grows. It should be feasible to four-track the corridor as far as Port Arlington, but doing so would have some impact on towns on the route and would involve building tracks through the Curragh. An alternative option could be to build a new alignment from Hazelhatch to Port Arlington with a spur to the Waterford line that avoids the Curragh altogether. This route would be shorter and could deliver faster journeys. Yeah, I think that's another pretty reasonable option to go with. Like I said before in the previous section about Dublin to Drogheda, if you're building these upgrades to help the environment, you don't want to be fucking it up in the process. And then number 7, develop a cross-Dublin solution. An east-west railway from Houston to Spencer Dock could deliver transformational improvements in cross-island connectivity if combined with improvements north of Connolly. And then here's the map. Let's have a quick look at this. We'll start from the top. We'll work our way down. So Derry here, there is a proposed railway with intercity routes less than 200 kilometers an hour between Portadown and Derry. And then there's proposed frequency improvements from Derry to Antrim, but then also passing loop upgrades. So those are those short sections of dual track along the single track route to allow trains to pass by each other, which is not an ideal solution. It's admitting that it needs to be dual track, but not committing to actually building dual track, and it's like a shite half measure. And then from Antrim to Belfast, there'd also be frequency improvements, but it would all be dual tracked, which is good. Then another proposed railway from Portadown to Lisburn, and then up to Belfast and down to Newry. All that section there would be a new railway, 200 kilometers an hour speeds, and then also all dual tracked. Good. So Newry down as far as Drogheda would be frequency improvements, but then also speed improvements up to 200 kilometers an hour. I like that. And then there's that proposed rail from Drogheda to Clongriffin, which would be up to 200 kilometers an hour, and then also dual track. And then from Clongriffin, there's a little spur right to Dublin Airport, which is the same. Which I don't know if you need to build that up to 200 kilometers an hour, because it's not a very far distance. I don't think the train will need to be that fast, but it's better to just have the infrastructure there. Now, these yellow sections in Dublin confuse me slightly. So these are cross-Dublin railways less than 200 kilometers an hour. It's not super clear where they connect. I think that's supposed to be Hope Junction up there down to possibly Pierce or Spencer Dock, and then across to Houston. Out west, there's not a huge amount of changes proposed in terms of like intercity stuff, because the cities are mostly like the southwest and then Belfast and Dublin. So then there'd be proposed frequency improvements between Hazelhatch and Maynooth. Not Hazelhatch, Houston and Maynooth. And then from Hazelhatch out to Port Arlington and Kildare, it's both proposed new railway line and then also dual track. Then from Kildare down as far as Kilkenny, proposed speed improvements up to 200 kilometers an hour, frequency improvements, and then also dual track, which is a nice little wombo combo. Then from Kilkenny to Waterford, they get cold feet and decide, we'll do the frequency improvements, we'll do the speed improvements up to 200 kilometers an hour, but we won't dual track it. We'll just put in passing loops, which is a bit silly. And we'll head out west then. We'll go, say, Port Arlington as far as Athlone will be dual track, speed improvements, and then also frequency improvements. But then they get cold feet again and decide, you know what, Athlone as far as Athenry, we'll do the speed improvements, we'll do the frequency improvements, but we won't dual track it, we'll just do passing loops. But then from Athenry as far as Galway, it's frequency improvements, not speed improvements? Is that... That's strange. Okay. Frequency improvement and then dual track. Well, dual track is important, yeah. So what this is telling me then is that they want to increase the speed from Hazelhatch out as far as Athenry, but then slow it down on the approach to Galway. No, that's not too bad, but it's a bit strange. Oh, and then a proposed intercity route between Galway and Limerick. I mean, that kind of exists already, doesn't it? Because there's a rail line here, and you can go from Galway to Limerick on the train as well. That's the only intercity route that doesn't involve going to Dublin. And then from, in terms of Limerick, you know, there's that line that goes from Port Arlington out to Cork. They're proposing speed improvements all along it, frequency improvements all along it. No upgrades to the track, but then at Limerick Junction there's a little part jutting out there to connect to Limerick, which would have set frequency improvements and then dual track. Yeah, so the approach to Limerick and Galway, they doesn't look like they want to commit to speed improvements, but they will dual track it and increase the frequency. It's interesting. Alright, so the case study, Denmark. This should be good. So, Denmark shares many similarities with Ireland. It has a similar population size, and its economic geography is highly centered on a large metropolitan area on the eastern side of the large island. Let's have a look at Denmark. Hold on a sec there. Right, so we're going to have a look at Denmark here. Most of the landmass is in Jutland here, but there's not a huge amount of people living there. As you can see, the largest city is by far Copenhagen, which is, as mentioned, over here on the eastern side of an island. Although I don't see how that is like super relevant to Ireland, other than it being on an island. But with Denmark is that it's pretty close to all its neighbors, and so it has a lot of international rail connectivity. Like there's the Øresund bridge between Copenhagen and Malmö there. There's another. Do they have a bridge here, or is it just a ferry? I'm not sure. No comment. But even between the different islands of Denmark, because it is made up of many different islands. You can see there's roads that go, you know, across here, across here, across here from this kind of whatever island Copenhagen is onto this secondary island, and then onto the mainland. And then obviously Germany and Denmark are connected by land, so they just have a road and rail that just goes over land. But they would be comparable in terms of population for sure. Anyway, let's continue. Denmark held a strategic review of its railway in 2006 and identified similar challenges that Ireland's railway face today, including low levels of electrification. That is definitely a major challenge that Ireland and the whole island is facing at the moment. Significant capacity constraints, especially on main lines into the capital. Well, so much of it is single track, you know, you're bound to struggle with capacity. Conflicts between intercity, regional, suburban, and freight services, and then speed restrictions and poor alignments resulting in relatively slow journeys. Yeah, There's not much to say about those. It's pretty straightforward. To achieve a modern railway, Denmark developed and has started to implement a new plan. I know it's not Togfonden, maybe Togfunden. We'll check it. Hold on. Alright, let's see what Google Translate says.
Togfonden. Togfonden.
Togfonden. Yeah, I was pretty close. We'll call it the Train Fund from now on, though. Train Fund Denmark. Oh, yeah, we'll just call it that. Since 2014, most of the funds in Train Fund Denmark, let's just call it TDK, are used for large investments in new and faster rail connections, including faster travel times on most regional lines, an upgrade to support transport of rail freight, and electrification of most of the railway network. In the past decade, several upgrades to the existing railway network have been planned and completed to support the reduction of travel times between the major cities in the country: Copenhagen, Odense, Aarhus, Aalborg, and the achievement of a concept called the hour model. This aims to reduce travel time to under 1 hour between each major city. Whoa. That's ambitious. I like it though. Under 1 hour between each major city. I would assume that's not between every city to city, because getting from Copenhagen to like Aarhus or Aalborg, from there to Copenhagen in an hour would be difficult, but maybe from Copenhagen to Odense for sure. Odense to Aarhus, and then Aarhus to Aalborg. Yeah, you could definitely get there in 1 to 3 hours. That would be achievable. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. It's got a good name for it as well. The hour model. Increase the accessibility of regional cities and enable them to play a stronger role in the economy. Yeah. Oh God, accessibility to one great way to increase the economic viability of smaller regional cities is connecting them to the wider country. If people can get there, then they're more it's more likely to make it a viable option for businesses that are wanting to come in. If they're like, okay, well, we need to build an office in Denmark, but then the land in Copenhagen is very expensive, but and in Odense is cheaper, and it only takes an hour to get between the two of them. Why don't we just build there? And if we have any clients in Copenhagen we need to meet with, or they need to meet us, they're only an hour away. Not too bad. This program of investment has included delivering Denmark's first high-speed railway line, which runs between Copenhagen, a metropolitan area population of 1.4 million and 470,000 jobs, and Ringsted, population 23,000, on the route to Odense, population 205,000, and was completed in 2018. Other line speed upgrades are currently in the planning phase across the country. So this is high-speed railway line. Oh, maybe we should. Yeah, trust the Danes to be ambitious and then actually build it. If you suggested building a high-speed railway in Ireland, government, well, I mean, it depends on who's in power, but I'd say the current administration would, Leo already kind of said that this was a pipe dream, a fantasy. But if you were to suggest to him, what if we built a high-speed rail between Dublin and Belfast, it would immediately be shot down, even if it is a good idea. Other line speed upgrades are currently in the planning phase across the country. This line relieves congestion on busy commuter routes on the key corridor from the west of the country to central Copenhagen. Further investments in high-speed railways from Odense to Aarhus and Aarhus to Aalborg are planned. Today, Denmark's railways deliver average speeds between the major cities that in some cases are twice as fast as current speeds between major cities on the island of Ireland. See chart below. Oh, we'll have a look at that in a sec. Denmark has achieved these improvements largely through investing in the existing network, with one short section of a new railway on a congested corridor. Yeah, so from Copenhagen to Odense, 134 kilometers an hour, that's pretty good. Then a comparable one would be maybe Dublin to Belfast, which is 80 kilometers an hour. Not quite half, but a significantly slower journey. The highest would be Dublin to Cork, which is 114 kilometers an hour average speed, but that's a bit of an outlier even within Ireland. Economic assessments indicates that based on future projections, the Hour model will be a profitable project. The investment in rail infrastructure improvements have been forecast to have a net present value of between 11 billion Danish krone and 7.6 billion Danish krone. So between 1.5 billion euro and 1 billion euro. Yeah, that's pretty good. For new construction budgeting, surcharges of 10% and 50% respectively. This project will also help improve agglomeration between Denmark's key cities and boost productivity nationwide. This case study illustrates the benefits that a faster, higher capacity intercity rail provides for a country with similar socioeconomic and geographical characteristics to the island of Ireland. Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of that section. Next will be regional and rural recommendations. This is a fairly long one. May end up breaking it up into two parts. We'll see how we go. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I guess within Europe, Denmark is a pretty good comparison to make. A lot of other European countries are just a lot larger. Either larger or more dense. But that's it for today. I'll put the links to these Wikipedia articles and maybe this Railforms UK thread. Never used this website before, but it was. I'm not sure how reliable the information is, but I'll at least provide where I've sourced it from. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.